Let's look at the elements of creating a professional email. The first thing you need is to make sure that you're using a professional email address. Now, if you're in an academic environment in school, then you want to use your KCTCS email address. You'll notice that it ends with the edu address. Of course, yours would be different up front than this one is, but it is still a professional email address. You don't want to use things like ilovedogs@gmail.com. You want to use whatever your business email is for the business that you might be involved in. Now, if you don't have such an email address, you can create a Gmail account or some other type of account that has a more professional address that involves your name or even your title, but not something like I Love Dogs. The second thing you want to think about is making your subject line meaningful. So you want it to be short and sweet, and you want to make sure that it really tells what the email is about and grabs the reader's attention. So let me show you an example. So notice this subject line here, so confused. Well, that doesn't really tell me a whole lot. Something like having trouble with homework 2.2 might be much more helpful as a subject line, or problems on homework number 9, section 2.2. Something very specific in the subject line would be much more helpful. And as we can see in the body of this email, we also didn't get any idea about what particular problems the person is confused about. It's not in here. So you want your subject line to be very specific, short and sweet, and kind of get to the point very quickly. All right, so the third thing is we want to include a salutation. You want to begin by addressing the reader using their formal title. So depending upon who it might be, if it's a professor, you want to address them. If you don't know if they have their doctorate or not, address them as Professor such and such. If you do know that they have their doctorate, address them as Doctor such and such. If it's someone in a work capacity, you may, depending upon their title, may want to address them as Mr. or Mrs., but it could also be that it's something like President so-and-so or Chairman so-and-so. So make sure you address them using their formal title. Make sure your greeting is friendly, but even as you do so, make sure that it's formal and not informal. You want to avoid things like yo or hey with people who are professional associates. These are words that you would use with friends, but you're not going to use them when addressing someone in a professional capacity. Use words like dear such and such, hello, good morning, anything like that, good day. Those are all formal ways to address someone. All right, next, proofread your email. And this is probably one of the things that you might need to center on the most. Bad grammar, bad punctuation, bad spelling mistakes, lots of spelling mistakes, those can all put off an employer, especially if you're applying for a job. So you really need to proofread for grammar, for punctuation, for multiple spelling errors. You also want to avoid using any text speech. Things like the word you as the letter U, or the word R as the letter R. Any kind of abbreviation you've used in text, you want to avoid that when writing an email. A professional email, you want to spell out those things. And don't make the assumption that the person reading it is particularly knowledgeable about texting. They may not know why you are using those. So you have to be careful. Make sure you capitalize the beginning of any sentence. Make sure you do not have a lowercase I by itself. Capitalize the letter I when referring to yourself. All of those things are very important when trying to convey information in a professional environment. Next, And as an example, let's look back at the email we were looking earlier. Notice the body of this email is just rife with errors. The I's are not capitalized throughout the entire thing. If we read through it, I don't get it. I've seen the videos you made 3 times, but I don't get what to do. That is actually more than one sentence merged together. There are grammatical mistakes such as the word seen there. There is text speech which needs to be gotten rid of. So you need to read through things beforehand. Professors hate getting emails like this. You need a well-constructed email with good English throughout. So be aware, regardless of whether you're writing to a math teacher or a science teacher or an English teacher, you want a well-constructed formal email. And that is especially true when writing to employers. Write your email formally. Be respectful, be civil, and be clear and concise. Don't write as if you're writing to your good buddy. Make sure that you are writing in a very formal way. You're trying to convey whatever it is you're trying to tell the reader, and you want to be respectful and civil as you do so. And then lastly, end with a valediction. So what is a valediction? If you don't know that word, that's okay. It means that you want to sign off. You want to, in a way, say goodbye. So that means things like ending with some final sign-off words like sincerely, thank you, with warm regards, things like that. Also, sign your first and your last name. Do not assume that if you sign your first name only, they will know who you are. Or, as we saw in the example I was showing earlier, the student didn't name at all. So make sure first and last name. In an academic situation, include your course, your section number, and your email address. Remember, your instructors have multiple sections of a single course. They don't necessarily know which course you are in particularly. They don't memorize their rosters. So don't make them go hunting for which section you're in. I, for example, might have 3 different sections of an MA 111 course. And if you do not tell me which course you're in, I'm going to be searching through a list of 30 names through each course trying to find out which course you're in. So let the instructor know which section you are in. In a business situation, you might want to make your own valediction to include with every single email, and you've probably seen these many times at the end of an email. That includes the person's name, the contact information, usually the title of whatever their title is within that business that they are writing from. So make sure you've included all important contact information, such as a phone number and an email address in a business situation. And you can type that out, but you need to have that information at the end of your email. And one of the things you'll note as you get the email rubric from your instructor doing these assignments, that email rubric actually contains all of the information that we just talked about. So it is a good thing to look at and double check that you are including all of these elements within your professional email.